From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings Lalate.
It's a big morning of Mornings Lalate with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we'll go over that monthly IRS stimulus check, but you're going to hear an exclusive you haven't heard anywhere else. Staffers from a major legislative office tell viewers of this channel that Lalate is now formative in helping get your recon passed. Of all the details in this breaking exclusive happening today. Then we got to the big exciting details of the $3.5 trillion recon passing. Cluster number one's checks in their pass, 2 and 3 pass as well. Seniors checks, workers checks, individuals checks, cars, bikes, home, repairs, and college students, all included in these clusters of checks. We'll be going over all this, plus that IRS monthly stimulus check. We'll be cutting back to third stimulus as well. And then we'll be going over what happened with the blocking of the roads and bridges vote, not once, twice, but 3 times this week. A big success for the progressives, for the recon, and for you. But yes, an exclusive you're only here on this channel. As one of the major legislative offices at issue for your recon now says that Lalate and its viewers are transformative and instrumental in the passage of your recon. I'll go over all the great details happening only here on Lalate this morning, direct from Santa Monica, California. As the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. I'm here, you're here, and it's time for Mornings Lalate. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day across the globe. As we go into a big morning, the great exclusive happening right now is one legislative staff tells viewers of this channel that Lalate's viewers are now transformative and instrumental in the passage of your recon. I'll go over what's happening in this breaking exclusive you're not hearing anywhere else, as this channel's viewers have now become instrumental in the passage of the recon. Boy, it's a big exclusive. We'll be going over those IRS stimulus checks. We'll go over cluster number one's checks, cluster number two's checks, and the third cluster checks passed in a $3.5 trillion recon no less than a week ago. We'll go over all these incredible checks that are in there and what you need to know. Seniors, workers, checks across the board. We'll be going back to those IRS stimulus checks. We'll be cutting over to third stimulus for a blink of an eye. To the extent that we have time, we'll cut over to fifth stimulus. And then we'll go over what the president said yesterday and what the president said Friday. It's a big day, and the exclusives start right here, and this is Lalate. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record in 1 year. A week ago today, a House subcommittee passed your $3.5 trillion recon for you and for the progressives, and not one broadcast channel covered the news. Print media didn't cover it. No YouTube channel, of course, covered it all. Throughout this entire week, every detail was uncovered from this channel and detail on this channel when it happened. This is why you want to be part of the viewership of this channel, where you're going to see all the incredible details and why now this channel is instrumental in the passage of your recon. So subscribe. Next up, 1 million viewers. Also like this video and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Council, VIP. Let's first go over each of these cluster checks pass. Cluster number 1 pass, 2 and 3 we'll go over. We'll go over what's happening with that IRS stimulus check. Then we'll be cutting over to what the president did, and then we'll be going over to this big exclusive happening today. Wow, it's a big recording, and it starts right now. First, the recon passed in a subcommittee of the House a week ago today. $3.5 trillion with several clusters all getting in there. The first one passed includes hazard pay, up to $4,000 to care for your older person, $4,000 for a young child, money for students, the home, and also bikes, cars, vehicles, and $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks. First, hazard pay. They got hazard pay in there by taking the EIC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, and broadening its eligibility and increasing the amount of payment for those essential workers every year. Then they're paying up to $4,000 a year for the help of an elderly person at home, up to $4,000 a year for care for a young child. Then they got in their grants for college students, grants directly to the university, to the student, and also the Pell's grant made tax-free. They got in there home repairs. If you're in a low-income community, the federal government gives you free money to repair the home. Then they got money in there of $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks, MSCs. They got the CTC, the child tax credit, lifetime. Broaden the eligibility now to include non-biological parents and paying a lot more money. How much? Up to $300 every month for every year, for up to 18 years that the household is a low-income household. That's per child, and that's $51,000. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric and all U.S. auto manufacturers. 15% for the new purchase of an electric bike, $7,500 for an electric vehicle personal use, a little bit more for business use, and a little bit more for truck. Wow. In a second, we're going to go over the second cluster checks pass, the third cluster checks pass, and those monthly IRS stimulus checks that they say that are going in there. And then the big world exclusive happening now at mornings. But let's first take a detour for just a blink of an eye over to third stimulus. Third stimulus is getting another cash infusion of $13 billion. This is for rent, utilities, and food, utilities and mortgage assistance, and it went out from Treasury. Treasury made the incredible statement. Treasuries happen to provide these state and local government programs with additional resources to help Americans' time of need. I'll go over how you get this big sum of money later in this video. Say the final 15 minutes of this video. I got a lot coming up. All right, let's get to the second cluster of checks passed. These checks include paid family leave and paid medical leave. Now, you need to remember the recon is not COVID related, and it's for all people everywhere across every state. Paid family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant, for example. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home, for example, your son broke his leg. How much does it pay? Under third stimulus is $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Split in half, $35,000 a year, that would be $800 a week. Split in half, $15,000 a year annual salary, that would be $400 a week. Then they got other checks in this second cluster, which are absolutely deliciousness. They got checks in there for childcare programs, checks for household tax credits, checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing checks, and then checks for weatherizing your home. Definitely need to weatherize your home if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. As I say, keep the moderate Democrats out of the house. Lock the door, Nancy. Then they got free pre-kindergarten. They got free community college. Definitely need to take that community college class called What the World is Lalate Saying? It's for people who say, I just talk funny. Now you can be bilingual in the foreign language called Los Angeles. In a second, we go to the third cluster of checks. But first, what is the president doing? Well, the president gave 3 wins in 2 days to you, the progressives, and your recon this week. On Thursday, the president saw that the roads and bridges was not going to get a support among the progressives, so he told Pelosi not to call the vote. On Friday, they were supposed to call the vote again, and he again told her not to call the vote. Finally, on Friday, he said there will be no vote, ever, on the roads and bridges unless the moderate Democrats agree to the recon. Wow. Huge win, not once, twice, but 3 times for you and your recon and the progressives. I had told you this week it doesn't matter if the roads and bridges passes, but it would be a big win if you roads and bridges didn't get called for a vote. Well, it was blocked 3 times. I'll go over what the president said in his meetings on Friday, what the president said yesterday, and we'll also be cutting over to the big exciting details of what that is unfolding with Lalate and the passage of your recon. It's huge, and it's only here, of course, on Lalate, coming up in a second. But let's cut to the third cluster checks, and they are incredible. Those third cluster checks are huge. They are checks for free school meals for all, checks for cheaper prescriptions, checks for farmers, checks for internet, checks for clean energy, checks for workers like independent contractors, checks for dental, vision, and hearing care, seniors checks, and lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. The president likes this cluster. This is the president's cluster. I love it because 2 of the checks in here are nearly automatic. First, cheaper prescription medication. How would this work? Let's say you go to the pharmacist today and say, hi, pharmacist, I have a very bad headache. Oh, listening to too many moderate Democrats. How'd you know? I have a prescription for that. Everyone's calling in for the same problem. Here you go. Takes two $20 bills out of your wallet. You pay for the prescription. Then after this becomes law and you still have those moderate Democrats giving you a headache, then when you go to refill the prescription, you may only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. Then they're also going to make free internet available across the country. This is for cities, counties, and states, rich, poor, red, and blue. And all you have to do is say, hi, can I have that username and password for the Wi-Fi connection? Of course you can. The username is DC Reese, and the password is Goth Gang Go Away. There you go. And later in this video, we'll go over a little bit more about this exciting details. But now let's turn to what's going on with that IRS monthly stimulus check. Well, it's huge because in this week alone, Sanders' office 3 times, Chuck Schumer's office, AOC Omar, and also Jalopal's office told viewers again that they are inserting an IRS monthly stimulus check provision in here. This is huge because let's remember, last Saturday, when they passed a $3.5 trillion recon out of that House Budget Subcommittee, chaired by your vice chair of the Democrat caucus, Sheila Jackson, they said immediately, this is not a bill, it's a work in progress. As Nancy Pelosi and the president said last Saturday, you want to add stuff in there? You can add stuff in there, and I want you to. Ironically, as Nancy Pelosi said going into that weekend to viewers of this channel, that she would be adding in your IRS stimulus check. It's sort of like it's a bill envelope. It's sort of like it's an envelope that says the word bill, and you want to put stuff in there, you can. Well, all this week, even Chuck Schumer's office on Wednesday telling Donnie's wife that they're inserting it as well. So there you go. Coming up in the second half of this video, we'll be going over all the major developing details, including this big exclusive happening you're hearing for the first time on Mornings LA. It's going to be covered throughout today's videos. It's going to be covered throughout this week. How instrumental has LA now become in the passage of your recon? You're going to hear what has happened now because of you, this channel, and my recordings, and the passage of your recon. This is huge. It's a game changer. It's astronomical. And ironically, it's exactly what I told you was going to happen. It's coming up in just a second. We'll be going over more about those IRS monthly stimulus checks. We'll be going over also more about what the president said Friday, what he said Saturday about the recon and the roads and bridges. And then if we have a little bit of time, we'll go over the third stimulus. It's all coming up as a big Mornings LA broadcast continues. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA. And the excitement continues right now on Mornings LA as you're going to see a major exclusive unhatched and revealed in just seconds as LA, you and the recon are becoming one. What's going on? I have all the latest details from Washington. Then we'll be cutting over to what the president said in those meetings on Friday, what the president said Saturday from the South Lawn of the White House, talking about your recon. We'll go over Sheila Jackson's explanations about what the recon means and how you modify a recon. We'll be cutting over to the exciting details more about that IRS monthly stimulus check. And then to the extent that we have time, we're going to go over third stimulus as well. And with that, there's a reason why you want to subscribe, because this is Lalate, the only place that is changing history by the moment. This was the channel, and I was the guy that got Americans a second stimulus check. In fall of 2020, I came up with the idea to insert a stimulus check into the CR. Did a Twitter campaign, did videos, and that made history. Delivering the American people the second stimulus check. Now you see, history's about to be made again. I'm going to show you all the incredible details in just a second, but first subscribe. Also like this video and consider becoming a member. So much details coming up in just a second, but let's cut to what transformative event is now unfolding. Here in exclusive, I now can report the following to you. Lalate has learned that one of the number one major legislative offices in DC is now relying upon Lalate, these recordings, and you, the viewers, to get the recon passed. What's going on? It was no less than 8 weeks ago when I told viewers of this channel that advocacy is important for the passage of a recon. It was no less than 3 weeks ago when I told you that Bernie Sanders' office said he needed to hear from you about advocacy for the recon. It was at that same time that I told you that senators and House members, if you flood their phones with your advocacy, saying, I'm an Lalate viewer, I want stimulus, advocating for why you need it, your family needs it, your community needs it, they're going to tell one another. Senators are going to get on the phone and say, are you getting all these phone calls from Lalate viewers? I am. I got 1,000 phone calls this week. I got 1,000 phone calls this week. They are all advocate for it. So what's going on? A top aide to Bernie Sanders' staff, Senator Bernie Sanders, tells a viewer of this channel that Lalate is now a critical ingredient for helping pass your fourth stimulus recon. What's going on? Bernie Sanders told Brother Joshua 3 weeks ago that he needed to hear from you to advocate for a stimulus check. Now we know a little bit more about the ingredient. The ingredient is the following. Moderate Democrats' pushback is the following, that moderate Democrats are claiming that they're unsure whether that Americans really want this stimulus, whether Americans really want this recon. And Lalate, I can now report to you that Bernie Sanders' staff is now logging all of your voicemails, your emails, your messages to their staff and compiling them to use them as documentary support of why the recon needs to be passed during negotiations with the moderate Democrats. That your advocacy, as advocacy on behalf of Americans, is now the reason that is now the support that progressives are using during the negotiations with the moderate Democrats. It's exactly what I said was going to happen. Is that progressive offices of Senators Schumer and Casey and Sanders and Warren are now talking about your phone calls, are now seeing the floods of your phone calls come in, and are now saying to the moderate Democrats, can you turn your back on all these calls? Can you turn your back on all these people? This is what I would hope would happen, and it is happening. Now, if you're watching this channel, if you're watching this video, and you are a resident of Arizona, I need you to advocate louder than anyone else. If you're a resident of West Virginia, I need you to advocate louder than anyone else. Why? Because the reason why the advocacy of this channel has taken a national attention by Sanders and other senators is that this is a news channel. It's not a partisan channel. The viewers of this channel are Republicans who want stimulus, are Democrats who want stimulus, are in red states, in blue states that want stimulus. But they also need to hear that you're in Kristen Sinema's state and want that stimulus. It's consistent with a message I delivered to you yesterday when one individual gave his analysis of President Biden's remarks during those Friday meetings. Who is that individual? It's a pollster. His name is Ben Tolshin. He's a Democrat pollster who previously worked with Bernie Sanders' office. And he said the following: I was hoping that Biden would have learned the lessons from Obama, which is you have to fight for things. You can't just negotiate with Kristen Sinema. You have to go to war. That's what it is. Such a fight would involve going to the state of Arizona and delivering a message to the residents of Arizona. Do you support this? And if you do, tell the senators they should as well. Well, if you're watching this video and you're a resident of Joe Manchin's state of West Virginia, if you're a resident of Arizona and you support what's covered in this channel and you want to advocate for it, you need to be heard. Pick up the phone and call Bernie Sanders' office and not only identify yourself as LA viewer, but also identify yourself as those states if that's where you live. Advocacy starts here. Now this channel is changing history again because this channel, your advocacy, a channel that does millions of views a day, that is the biggest footprint on YouTube, the biggest footprint on social media, and the biggest footprint on the web for this subject matter, is now getting that attention. Now, here's another thing that's an issue, is that this morning, broadcast media attempted to cover the subject matter again. And what did they do? They wouldn't use the same word to describe the recon. Last week it was social spending. Today it was social reform. Every day it's a different word. And ironically, Senate progressives have had an issue with broadcast media because they're not covering the recon. They're not using the same word recon, so listeners would know what they're referring to. They're continually changing the words. They're not describing the recon. They're not describing the checks. They're not describing the programs so that listeners don't know what's going on. And this has been a big issue that progressives have been talking about, that the broadcast media is only talking about the roads and bridges, maybe because it's simple to say roads and bridge, and it's harder to say the word recon. Not particularly clear. And that's why the legislators have liked this channel, because I've gone to excruciating detail, detailing exactly what is in the recon. So, and they specifically noted, in fact, Sanders' aide, it's actually an aide, not a staffer. My apologies. An aide to Bernie Sanders actually said that they were so impressed by your knowledge of what is in this recon and by your professionalism, respect, and your detail and advocating that they understood that you had been well informed of what is in this recon, unlike the broadcast media. There you go. Now let's cut over to that IRS monthly stimulus check. It was 8 weeks ago I said pick up the phone and advocate. And I said pick up the phone and advocate to these Democratic leaders. And WR did. He picked up the phone, called Senator Chris Coons, an advocate for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and said, I need it. My family needs it. And Coons' office said yes. Coons is a Democrat. Delaware. Joe Biden's always confidant. Coons' office said yes, I'm inserting a monthly stimulus check. It was 3 weeks ago that you saw this channel change very quickly overnight. I started delivering a lot of exclusives. I started delivering breaking news on the hour by the hour. At the time, I told you exclusively that I believe that the House subcommittee would be writing the legislation of the recon. They did. Sheila Jackson, your vice chair of the Progressives, as one of the authors that worked on it that Saturday night. Number two, I told you that the House would vote first. They are. Number three, I told you the Senate would vote last. They are. And I told you Bernie Sanders is critical of the integration. He's the guy that got the $3.5 trillion price tag passed on the Senate side. He's the guy who negotiated the price tag. And at the time, 3 weeks ago, Bernie Sanders said, unlike prior Senate budget chairman, I like to get amongst the people when writing a recon. I said, if you listen to those key words, he's asking for you to advocate. He wants you to pick up the phone and advocate. And Margaret did, Lynn Glenn, and Brother Joshua did 3 weeks ago. What does advocacy look like? Advocacy involves telling your story of why you need the stimulus. I need it because of my situation. Let me tell you what's going on with my family. Let me tell you what's going on with my church, or my town, or my sister, my brother, or my uncle. Everyone has a unique story. And that's what legislators have specifically referred to the Lalate viewers, that you've been very good in telling your specific story of why you need it. And that those stories are resonating very well through the congressional floors. Here's an example of advocacy. It came in about a week ago. 2 incredible messages from viewers. These are screen grabs from either the live chats of this channel or a private message on social media. Here is Margaret. She writes, honestly, I and the woman on the phone in the Senate office start crying when I explain everything I've gone through. Another viewer wrote the following. My husband died. I have had 10 surgeries. I'm raising two teenage daughters on SSDI. It's not enough. I need more. That's the face of advocacy. And that's what Brother Joshua did 3 weeks ago. He picked up the phone and advocated to Bernie Sanders' office, saying why he needs it, why you need it, why his church needs it. Brother Joshua, 2020 volunteers at the community page who got thousands of viewers, hundreds of thousands of dollars for rent and utilities during the thick of the pandemic. And Bernie Sanders' office telling Brother Joshua 3 weeks ago, yes, he's inserting a monthly stimulus check provision, or his staff, I should say, inserting a monthly stimulus check provision, $1,000 to $1,300, 3 to 6 months. But he needs to hear from you. You see why now that language was so important? I had told you every video ever since then. He said he needs to hear from you. And we made ourselves heard. Let's look at some of the screen grabs that came in from people who advocated for the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check right to Sanders' office starting 3 weeks ago. And starting with Donnie. You remember Donnie. Here he is. Donnie writes, I called Bernie Sanders' office. I said, I need it. I need my city needs it. I need it for my water to progress, to pay my bills. And Sanders' office saying, yes, it's going in there. Monthly stimulus check. Hurricane Tina, who's in the live chat right now. I called Bernie's office. I got through. I said, I need it. And Sanders' office saying they're putting it in there. Here is Carolyn writing that I called Sanders' office saying people are losing their homes, they're losing what they got. And they said, yes, they're putting it in there. Here is Yaya. Spoke to a Wyden staffer who says they're going to put SS200 in there as promised. Advocacy took another level when we learned that it's important to call not one office, but as many offices as you can. And that's what Will did. Will picked up the phone and called 3 offices. He called Bernie, Chuck, and Liz in one day. And Will writes, all 3 of them confirmed the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. Later in the message, Will writes, and Liz Warren said she's going to include it, $1,600 to $2,000 through 6 to 12 months. Lorica writes she got Bob Casey on the phone, or his office on the phone, and Casey's office said, yes, they're now in negotiations for that inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. At that point, you had advocated really well. Nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel had advocated and gotten back confirmation of inclusion of a monthly stimulus check from Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, and Wyden on the Senate side. But I said you need to advocate on the House side as well. AOC, Jalapal, Omar, Pelosi, and now I'm adding Sheila Jackson in there, the vice chair of the Democratic Progressive House Caucus. Well, Paul picked up the phone and called AOC's office and writes, AOC's office said they're doing it. They're putting it in there, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, 6 to 12 months. Janice writes, she advocated to Jalapal's office, and they said, yes, for stimulus check is coming in there. Messages kept on coming in like Mark, who picked up the phone and advocated to Nancy Pelosi's office. And he writes, their office, her staff told me they were doing a forced stimulus check, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and that there would be, that they're almost done negotiating it. The messages continue to come in even last week. Here is more of them. Lynn Glenn, I got Jalapal's office, and they are doing that monthly stimulus check, Lynn Glenn writes. Ida writes, I got off the phone with Omar's office. They're doing it, $1,000 a month after the first month. And here is Paul also saying much the same for Omar's office. And there you go. That is why LA is now a game changer. This is why this video is now a game changer. You're going to see me cover this subject matter all today, all this coming week, because now, as negotiations are going on between the progressives on the recon, protecting your recon, and the moderate Democrats protecting their roads and bridges, the progressives are now using this channel, me, these videos, and your advocacy to them as proof to the moderate Democrats that they need to do the recon. There you go. And let's now cut to what happened with the president in not 1, 2, but 3 major wins for your recon this week. Let's understand how we got to these 3 wins for your recon this week. Back in July, we had one bill that was about to pass. It had roads and bridges and recon in together. It was one item, one bill. But the moderate Democrats said, no, you need to split them apart at the 11th hour. So the president made a concession to the moderate Democrats, split it into two bills, recon over on one side and infrastructure, aka roads and bridges, aka bipartisan, into a separate bill. That was to appease the moderate Democrats. The president at the time said, okay, I'm taking one bill, I'm splitting it in half, but the two bills must proceed at the same time. They must be voted on at the same time, and they must both land in the House, in the White House, on my desk, in the Oval Office at the same time. I'm not going to sign one. You have to give me both. Very clear. We all remember the promise. Well, then the moderates tried to undo the promise, and they didn't keep their promise. What did they do? It started with Gothenheimer, a New Jersey House moderate, who basically ambushed Pelosi about a month ago to get her to call the vote on the roads and bridges only this last Thursday, not the agreement we all made, not the agreement Democrats made in July. Pelosi felt ambush and made the concession saying, yes, I'll call the roads and bridges for a vote on that Thursday. What happened this week? Well, we started the week with the moderate Democrats upsetting Pelosi because they weren't keeping their promise on the debt ceiling limit. We then continued the week with Gothenheimer trash-talking the progressives, saying they're a fringe group, they're very small, they have no swing power, they don't care about anything, and they don't care about the president's priorities. The trash-talking continued as Gothenheimer said, yeah, the roads and bridges are going to pass, and then the president calling the moderate Democrats into a meeting in the White House, saying, what do you think about the recon? And them not answering, saying you have to call the vote on the roads and bridges. What do you think about the recon? Not answering. The trash talking took another level. When Joe Manchin published a document on Wednesday, claiming it to say that it's something it didn't say about Chuck Schumer and basically trying to paint Chuck Schumer as a liar, Chuck Schumer's office fumed back. Going into Wednesday night, Pelosi understood she only has a 3 Democratic lead in the House. She can't lose 3 votes for the roads and bridges. But by Wednesday night, the Progressive Caucus had confirmed they had 60 progressives to vote down against the roads and bridges. Then, Thursday morning, guess what happened? Another publication is published out by a moderate trash-talking the recon again. That caused the progressives to say, you know what? We had 60 votes against the roads and bridges on Wednesday. Now we're probably going to have 100. 9:00 p.m. comes on a Thursday night, and Pelosi set to call the vote on the roads and bridges. Progressives have a final vote, a final meeting on Zoom. They confirm they're ready to go. Vote it down. Pelosi doesn't call the vote. Then, at about 9:30, the president sends Brian Deasy to Chuck Schumer's office to meet with Bernie and Kristen Sinema to basically try to get the progressives to now vote yes for the roads and bridges. Not happening. The meeting ends very quickly. Bernie Sanders says, I'm not doing business this way. And Jalapal telling her progressives, we are not changing our positions unless the moderates say, actually vote in favor of the recon. By 10 o'clock, no vote occurs. 10:10, the second in command of the House, which is Steny Hoyer, says, no vote tonight, come back tomorrow, we're voting on Friday. First win for the progressives, first win for you and your recon. The vote is blocked for the roads and bridges. I had told viewers, I don't care if the roads and bridges passes, but if it doesn't pass, it's a big win for your roads, for your recon. Big win, number one. Number two, Friday starts, and I go on camera and I say, nothing has really changed. In fact, it looks more indicative that there's going to be more progressives to vote against the roads and bridges. The vote doesn't happen Friday. The president calls the progressives, the moderates, the House, and the senators all into separate meetings. First, the House has a meeting, then the senators have a meeting. And the president sends a very clear message that there will be no vote at any time on the roads and bridges until you agree to the recon. Massive win for you and the progressives and your recon. The president said basically the following. Listen here. I had an agreement, which I told you, and we're standing by that agreement, Two bills, two pass, same time, pass at the same time, vote at the same time, on my desk at the same time. What you've attempted to do is just do the roads and bridges. That's not what we agreed to. And that's exactly what Liz Warren had said all week long. That was an agreement everyone agreed to, and the moderate Democrats were not keeping their promise. He said, we're not doing that. We're not going for just roads and bridges. I'm instructing Nancy Pelosi never to call the vote on the roads and bridges until I give authorization. We're doing both of them, and you must agree to both of them. Wow. Big day. So here are some of the quotes of what happened in that meeting, and then let me give you some reaction to the quotes. The president said, I wrote the damn bill. Even a smaller bill can make historic investments in childcare. I know a little bit about the legislative process. I do think that this can get done. He basically said progressives had blocked the infrastructure and that it was never going to pass unless we had a call for a vote on the recall. And then he said that we have to have both bodies of law approved. Henry Cooler, a Democrat from Texas, both basically said the president did a nice job, but both sides clearly were a little bit uneasy. Then came the Ben Tolchin quote that I delivered to you earlier in this recording that basically says that you have to go to the states of Arizona and West Virginia and say, do you want this? Well, then tell your senators to do this. Here is what the president said Saturday on, I believe it's the South Lawn of the White House. I always forget which is which side. I believe it was on the South Lawn. He was asked when. Calendar calling was out there with a calendar. And he said, I'm not going to give any date. I'm not giving any date as to when we're getting it done. We're going to get it done. Now, let me go over Sheila Jackson's comments as the vice chair on broadcast media yesterday. She's vice chair of the Progressive Caucus. Sheila's comments were huge because she explains how the recon goes through the chats of this week. And I want you to understand them. And I'm also going to bring in Bernie's prior quotes so you understand this. She basically said, as the vice chair of the caucus, progressives, that when you look at the recon, it has a series of programs in there. And that's how you understand it so clearly, because I go through each of the checks, like the bikes, the $4,000 to care for the elderly, the weatherizer in your home. You understand that's each a different item. She calls it a program. We have a program for this, a program for that. She said the progressives will never settle with the moderates by removing a program. So that's great news for you. They're never going to remove anything. What they're going to do is modify how to pay for it. So this is what she also explained, that the way they're paying for these each programs is they have very, very sophisticated, brilliant people that are not elected officials, they're staffers, who know that if we change the tax code this way for a corporation or this way for a billionaire, we'll get a little bit more money to pay for this program and to pay for that program. She said, we're not removing programs. Oh, no, we're not removing programs. We're keeping the whole loaf, to use her exact word, the whole loaf in there. What we're going to do is change perhaps how we pay for it with the taxes so that the backside, the pay for it gets modified. We're not removing programs. So here's an example. When you look at the 15% for the bike, for example, they're not changing it to 10% for the bike or 5% for the bike. They're not doing that. They're just changing the corporate tax implication for the corporation, the Fortune 500 company, changing that so that it still pays for the 15% bike, just in a different way. Here's another example to look at. When Bernie Sanders went into those negotiations for your recon back in July, he asked for $7 trillion. He emerged from the meeting with an agreement of $3.5 trillion, which became the recon procedural passed. How did he get from $7 trillion to $3.5 trillion? He didn't go from a 30% from the bike to 15% for the bike. He didn't split it in half. What he did was he changed the time horizon from, let's say, 20 years to 10 years. So instead of 15% for a bike over 20 years, meaning that if you want to get 15%, you can get 15% for a bike in 20 years from now as well. They made it, you can only get 15% for the bike between now and the next 10 years. They shortened the time horizon. All your money is still the same. All your money is still in the same time horizon. It's just how it's paid for is different, and that the long haul items that are 20 years, over 10 years, broaden a little potential narrower. This is very, very important for you to understand how these numbers work out during these negotiations. All right, now let's go over to what I think the president's going to have to do this week. What the president's going to have to do this week is he's going to really have to lean on the moderate Democrats. Because what the president didn't realize is that the moderate Democrats really haven't done anything wrong. And the broadcast media has not done a good job in portraying the subject matter. And the whole nuance, the whole flavoring is that somehow the progressives did something wrong. The president wrote the bill. He came up with the price tag, told the progressives to protect the price tag, protect the recon. And now somehow the progressives are to be blamed for something. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. They kept their promise. They've been sitting around doing the same thing they've been doing since July. It's the moderate Democrats keep on changing everything. All right, let's turn over to third stimulus for just a blink of an eye because we got 5 minutes left. Here we go. As we go into the final 5 minutes of this video, third stimulus has additional cash infusion of $13 billion for rent, utilities. Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready to go over all this big money that you should get right now. First, I'm going to go over rent, then utilities, and then also other items. Here are 6 places. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility, different pots of money. Next, listen to the keywords I say in this video. And then finally, get ready for the nonprofits. First, here comes the 6 places. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, your county house authority, your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. Now, if you're a member of this channel, which I hope you are, daily in the newsletter, I now include the letter from Treasury about the $13 billion. I want you to read that before you call up so you know what it is. Remember, every red, blue, rich, poor state is going to get the money. Maybe it doesn't have it today. Maybe it has it tomorrow. Asked to be on the waiting list. Asked to be able to call back tomorrow to get that money as well. Then lean on the nonprofits. The nonprofits are really wonderful. The nonprofits, here are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. It's important to understand with those nonprofits the following. 1, they pay for all the same items that are in third stimulus, like rent, utilities, mortgage, but they do have different eligibility. So if you have an eligibility issue, you think, with your city, lean on the nonprofits. Number 2, they pay for other items that are not in third stimulus. So they pay for, let's say, more homeless people into shelter sometimes, clothing, sometimes small appliances. This week, 2 viewers got refrigerators. 1 viewer got a furnace and also a window fixed. Here again are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Next, also remember to reach out to all utility companies. So if you have 5, reach out to all 5. Then the unemployment benefits. Here we go. Unemployment benefits coming back from your state and the federal government. If you're overpaid due to computer error from your state, it's coming back. Average payment is $2,000 to $5,000. And then refund check from IRS. Yes, your 2020 unemployment benefits from IRS that you paid taxes on, you're getting a refund check back for it. It's anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cod got it, Michael got it. If you got any of these sums of money in the live chat, post your success story. And if you're Lynn Glenn or Gail that got money for SNAP, get that as well. What's going off SNAP? SNAP is money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. And guess what? It's going up an average of 25%, lifetime automatically this month everywhere. I know, you got that letter in September saying it's going down. Guess what? There's a second letter that says it's going up. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member. The link is under the video. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Members are delivered daily from me to them Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system for members and the LA alert system, both free. The member newsletter. The member newsletter has all the big money available under first, second, and third stimulus for you to get. That's how Johnny got 80,000, Mark 51,000, Lorraine going from 105 now to 110. Viewers are getting big sums of money. I want you to make yourself 3 promises going into this week. Number 1, you need to advocate. Pick up the phone and call as many House and Senate offices to advocate for the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. Number 2, I want you to reach out and get as much money as you can from third stimulus for those 6 places. Because guess what? I don't think a lot of this third stimulus money, like rent, will be continued under fourth stimulus. Number 3, lean on the nonprofits. It was 80 degrees here yesterday. It's still a warm fall. The nonprofits are not getting a lot of phone calls yet. They have a very quick turnaround time. Viewers report very quick turnaround times and getting money proof from St. Vincent de Paul and Rent and United Way. As soon as the cold weather comes around, they're going to get flooded, the nonprofits, with phone calls. They're going to be slowed up. So get as much money as you can. Get that rent and utilities as far into 2021 as you can, whether it's the locals or also the nonprofits. Finally, advocacy. As we go into the final minutes of this channel, a transformative day, a big day for this channel. You're going to hear more about this throughout the day and throughout next week. Advocacy starts here, and advocacy continues here. Advocate. Advocacy starts with you understanding why your story is different. Everyone has a different story why they need money. And that money is different whether it's a family or your business or your town or your church or your son or your daughter, your mom or your dad. Every story is different. Think in your mind why your story is different. And think about what you're going to say. And then pick up the phone and call as many phone calls as you can make. Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, Chuck Schumer, continue on the Senate side, Chris Coons, Bob Casey, Ron Wyden. On the House side, Sheila Jackson, Jalopal, both chair and vice chair of the Democrat caucus. Then AOC, Omar, Pelosi. Advocate for your inclusion. They're logging your comments. They know your comments. They identify with your comments. Say you're calling from Lalate, be professional, respectful, and say, as an Lalate viewer, I want to tell you why I need it. And if you're from Arizona and West Virginia, make the phone call especially. Say I'm from Arizona and West Virginia, and I need to tell you, I want it. And that will be transformative for Americans across the board. And with that, join me next on noontime LA at 11 a.m. We're going to have big updates. That's a brand new live show. I'll have the latest details and more about what's going on from Washington. Then we're back at 1 o'clock with Afternoons LA, 3 o'clock at Afternoons LA, and 5 o'clock with Evenings LA, and then a whole slate of programming tonight. So with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP, the link's under the video. And don't forget to sign up for those LA alerts. They're also free. The link is under the video. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.